Hello, everyone, and welcome to week number 6. We're getting there, we're really close. What I wanted to do was, first of all, take a look at the readings for this week, and then after that, talk a little bit about the DQs. As always, the notes I took on the three readings this week, two chapters, of course, from the text, and in addition, an article can be found in the course notes and bulletins, properly labeled under week 6 notes. I know you took your own notes, but if you're interested in taking a look at mine, they're there. That includes chapter 11, chapter 12, and the Graham and Capitano article from 2015. Just a reminder that the learning outcomes for week 6 were to examine the role of leadership in organizational behavior, and that really was a lot of chapter 12. Talked a lot about leadership. Of course, the article did a little bit as well. Chapter 11, making decisions, is certainly applicable as well, of course, and explore change, development, and innovation in organizations as well, which of course is intricately connected to leadership, decision making, and all those processes that are discussed in chapters 11, 12, and the article. So, again, just a reminder from the readings this week, chapter 11 focused primarily on decision making. It looked at different models of decision making: rational decision making model, bounded rationality, intuitive, creative decision making, all kinds of things on decision making. I really like this section on avoiding decision making traps that exist. They listed 5 types of traps, including overconfidence bias, hindsight bias, and several other ones. So there's definitely some talk about that, and really thinking about environmental factors when one makes a decision. Of course, chapter 12 also talked about decision a little bit, but brought us more around to leadership and said, here's how we define leadership, here's some types of leadership, and therefore, back to the decision making part, here's how some leaders make decisions. They talked about authoritarian decision making, democratic decision making, laissez faire decision making, were all part of chapter 12, and gave us a number of theories around leadership, 4 leadership styles. They talked about that, and got into transformational leadership, servant leadership, and all kinds of stuff. And of course, the article was called The Effects of Leadership Style, Framing, and Promotion, Regulatory Focus, and a few more words, and talked about just being careful if you're a transformational leader not to steer someone towards unethical decision making. So that was an interesting article for me. So, for example, I'm just looking at a quote here: the language that the leader uses and the traits of the followers can make a difference in determining follower behaviors. Maybe those unintended consequences of being a charismatic or transformational leader from the article. So those were the readings for the week. The 2 DQs, let's talk about those for just a moment. The first one, it says, think about a time when you fell into the decision-making traps discussed in the chapter readings. And again, they are listed in chapter 11, so they're right there for you. Using the 3 levels of an organization discussed in chapter 1 of your text, so you can go back to week 1 and check that one out. Describe the decision-making trap and the potential implications of your actions on each of these levels. So what you're going to do there is really ground this in your own experience. Choose one of those 5 traps that are described in chapter 11. I also listed them within my notes within week 6 as well. Go back to chapter 1 and refer to that as well. So you don't need to go through all 5, but certainly choose one of those decision traps described in chapter 11 and connect it to the example that you choose to provide. So that'll take us through the first DQ. The second DQ should be a lot of fun, I hope. Think of a leader you admire in your organization or another public figure. Drawing on the readings, explain what traits or pro-organizational behaviors they exhibit and how these behaviors impact their effectiveness. So I think chapter 12 would be of assistance to you in answering the question. Look at what's said in chapter 12 around leadership styles. And in addition, take a look at the article that we read this week and what that said about leadership, and sometimes the intended and unintended stuff that happens when you lead. So, for example, from the article I'm reading right now, how leaders frame messages to individuals can have important implications for individual behavior. So, when you think about a leader you admire, How do they use their leadership to get those who follow them to make good decisions when they're in a position to do so? So I really look forward to hearing about the leader you identify. You don't need to list them by the real name. If it's within your organization, feel free to use a pseudonym. But both of these questions this week are really grounded in your own experiences, whether it's about a decision making trap you found yourself in or a leader you admire. And then you start by grounding it in your own experiences and then bring in the course readings, both chapter 11 and the article as well. So I'll see you in the DQs, and I hope you have a great week 6. Thanks, everybody.